Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. It's your old pal Jake, and I currently look like some sort of a left-wing wraith. Might want to fix that. Might want to fix that camera a little bit. Why not? Let's do it. But as I'm doing that, I do want to tell you what we're looking at with the show today. We have a little bit of news about our very good friend Tucker Carlson. I use that phrase as a lie. I'm lying. He's not our friend. It's all the opposite of what I said. He's an evil person, and it's bad news for him because he's fired from Fox, baby. Oh my word! It is truly amongst. Hey, let's get a tan going. Ooh, that's too much. That's a little better. It's truly amongst the best pieces of news I have heard this year. This year. I'm going to include the news about Trump that we've heard. Oh boy, mercy. There we go. Looking better. Yeah, he's the biggest spreader of disinformation on cable news. No longer. Lots of questions about why that is. Lots of questions about what the upcoming cases are going to reveal. But I would suggest that, much like as we've discussed previously, when you hear about really bad news about a cop, so often they're a former police officer or a public servant. They're a former firefighter, a former employee of X, Y, or Z. Why is that? Well, the company or the organization that knows their employee is about to get in bad trouble does not want the media to be able to say an employee of their organization when reporting on it. So, going off that logic, one might assume Tuckums is in trouble. Good. May he suffer in the public sphere for the rest of his life. Much more stuff. We've got viewer suggestions from last week that I wanted to look at this week because they remain relevant, unfortunately. And big news with Fani Willis. We have a timeline now for when she is going to go ahead with her investigation. Let's get started into the show proper. What do you say? Good to see you, by the way. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I hope yours was as restful as mine. I would give you a big update about what I did, except I can enact it for you right now. And if you watch the next 10 seconds of this broadcast, just multiply that by an entire weekend. This is what I did. Yeah. It took a lot of online tutorials on how to edit with the software I'm using. I used to have a system that did it all for me, and now I don't. I may have overestimated my my ability to learn quickly there. Cripes. But hey, hopefully I'll be joined by a digital co-host soon in the form of Pixel Jake. Soon being a word that is highly dependent on my own ability to create that. Let's get recording. Oh, Tucker Carlson. You know we got to start with the Tuckums story. Come on. We got to start with the Tuckums story. It's too dang good. It's too good. Today, we discovered something extraordinarily interesting, which is that Tucker Carlson is no longer an employee of Fox News. In fact, according to a press release by the company, they've decided to part ways. Wicked Foxy Dragon, good to see you. Wireless Mike, Zix, hello, Ollie, great to see you. Yeah, Tucker Carlson's, he's outskis at Fox News. Look a little bit at this from our good friends over at the Los Angeles Times. This is reporting by Stephen Battaglio. Tucker Carlson, the provocative conservative primetime host, that's a hell of a way to say white nationalist simp, host who helped build Fox News into a ratings juggernaut, good Lord, into a ratings juggernaut, has been forced out of the network. You'll love to see it. Fox News announced the stunning departure of its top-rated host Monday with no explanation, but people familiar with the situation who were not authorized to comment publicly, juicy, said the decision to fire Carlson came straight from Fox Corp. Chairman Rupert Murdoch, I love the tea. With input from board members and other Fox Corp executives. Carlson's last show was Friday, although, based on what he was saying Friday, he didn't know that. Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have agreed to part ways, the network said in a statement. We thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that, as a contributor. Let's just pause this for a second and be real clear about what Tucker Carlson did. He got on air and he lied to the American people. He lied to the whole world. He lied to the Russian people, as a matter of fact. His news segments were replayed as Russian propaganda. He lied to the world for years and years and years and years. And they want to thank him for that. That's what Fox says. We thank him for what he's done over the last years. This man who contributed to January 6th. This insurrectionist, at a minimum, insurrectionist sympathizer, who gave aid and comfort to people that betrayed America. This guy, they want to thank him for doing that. I don't know what we're going to find out in these coming lawsuits. I suspect we're going to find out that Tucker Carlson was a liability to the company, Fox Corp, in more traditional ways, in ways that used to get companies in real trouble. I suspect we're going to find that out. But even if they come out with a statement saying, it turns out that all the worst things about January 6th come from Tucker Carlson and we don't stand with that. Remember that they said they thank him for his service over these last years. In fact, no matter what, remember they said that. Murdoch elevated Carlson from contributor to daily host status in 2016. Carlson moved into primetime in 2017 after the ouster of Bill O'Reilly, the successful longtime host who left over sexual harassment allegations. A traditional way to leave a network. Carlson's exit is related to the discrimination lawsuit filed by Abby Grossberg, the producer fired by the network last month, the sources said. Oh, would you look at that? Carlson's senior executive producer, Justin Wells, has also been terminated, according to insiders. Remember, when you're thinking of Carlson's staff, if you've got like an image in your head, like this cartoonish image of, a bunch of hateful neo-Nazi sympathetic scum, if that's what you're imagining, you're right. He recently lost another producer because that guy was found on a white nationalist forum spouting hate speech. And in fact, a lot of the things from that forum wound up in Tucker Carlson's show. I suspect that wasn't an accident. Every last one of these motherfuckers deserves to start by being fired, and they should spend the rest of their days in a prison cell. Truly. That's what I advocate for with these guys. This is coming from somebody who's pretty darn sympathetic to the media, but also views, and when I say media, I mean people talking about the news specifically. I'm pretty sympathetic. But I also think that they need to be held to some standards. And if they violate those standards, they must be shunned. They must be treated like criminals. Because in this case, I believe they are criminals. I believe their lying should have criminal consequences. Carlson's exit is related to the discrimination lawsuit filed. We talked about that. Grossberg was moved off of Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo and on to Tucker Carlson Tonight, where she alleged she was bullied and subjected to anti-Semitic comments, according to a lawsuit in New York. Link to the article is in the description. But boy, oh boy. I mean, there's few better ways to start off a week than the ouster of one of the worst human beings to ever be in the public eye from the public eye. What do you think? What do you think's going to happen to this cat? You think he's going to OAN? You think he's going to start his own little thing on Rumble? I'm going to bet that he's... I'm going to bet that the insiders in this industry, like, say, the folks at CNN who might be tempted to say, ooh, we really do want to play for that Fox audience, but we do want to still jump on Fox. I think they probably know more than we, just through the rumor mill. I don't think he's returning to network television, thank Christ. I think Fox is where your career goes to die now, and it must be. But we should make sure that's the case. First of all, if anybody worked at Fox and is then hired at a different media station, you should write that media station and tell them that's unacceptable. Working at Fox should be the last thing that appears on your resume. It should be the equivalent. It should be now what being found to have worked in the pornography industry was 20 years ago. Just utterly disqualifies you from that particular, from working in the news. But where do you think he's going to wind up? I personally suspect he is going to get a deal for, trying to be the next Joe Rogan. But I don't think his audience is going to translate that well. He had a specific audience of cable news watchers. I don't think he's going to have, especially online, which is more interactive, which has less protection from having to talk to the audience and show them that you're a human being. I just don't think he's going to translate well. So I look forward to his dwindling. I look forward to his the Bill O'Reillying of Fox. Bill O'Reilly, for the record. Rather, the Bill O'Reillying of Tucker Carlson. Bill O'Reilly, for the record, did have his own little show for a while. He might still have it, but it was so inconsequential that I haven't followed it in years. I think that's what we have now with Tucker Carlson. I can't wait. This is going to come out one way or another. I can't wait to see what finally did it. And by the way, you're going to get a pretty accurate view of what Rupert Murdoch is all about. Because we already know there is no amount of anti-Semitism, there is no amount of hate, anti-trans bigotry, there's no amount of stochastic terrorism that this guy can engage in that would have gotten him fired. So, the question is, what was it? What finally did it? I'm excited to find out. To have a look at what the Wicked audience has to say about this. Baby, I can't wait. Only the first. Ooh. Let's have a look. Mark L. Madison says, "Hey, if McCarthy gave Tucker the Jan 6 stuff, who has it now?" God damn, Mark. It's a really good question. I do not know. Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, they appeared to be done with it. So one presumes that they gave it back or they deleted it. Or it's, it's what they said they did, and it's really just on a hard drive right now, and it's going to be discovered in like 10 years. But, it's a legitimate question to make McCarthy's day a little worse over. Wireless Mike agrees. Damn good question, Mark, he says. Wholeheartedly agreed. Same with Wicked Foxy Dragon. Mark, you nailed it with that one. Mark L. Madison, because Tucker has it in under his bed is different than we have control of the tapes McCarthy provided to the Tucker Carlson show. Yeah. Oh, mercy me. I wouldn't be surprised, says Wireless Mike, if Tucker Carlson runs for office in some form. I'm also worried that Ben Shaboop Boop will offer him some astronomical dollar amount for him to move here to my state and join his network. Oh, God. Hey, Wireless Mike, if he really does wind up in your state, we are going to prank that guy. I just want you to know. I will traverse this country with my recently repaired vehicle, and we shall prank the Jim Christ out of Tucker Carlson and Ben Shabibo. Dean Oldfield says it's a good day in America. Yes, sir. Yes, it is. Let's take a moment to re-energize. First of all, I thought that was a Superman spit curl. It turned out to be more of a who's that guy from Greece? Like Squiggy? I don't know. I look like a guy from Greece who doesn't have a singing part. He's just in the background going, sorry. But let's rejoice for a moment. Number one, Tuckums is gone, baby. One of the worst spreaders of disinformation is Outskis. Number two, recall that last week we said, shouldn't a bunch of internet ne'er-do-wells, a bunch of do-goodin' scamps get together and flood that form in Missouri that the Attorney General there started up to harass trans people? And we did. And so did a bunch of other people with access to the B-movie script and some bots. And that got shut down. 2 victories. 2 huge victories. The left is winning. In fact, let me take the left out of that, because none of what I just said had anything to do with being left-wingers, other than by default they were against these things. Sanity is winning. Sanity is winning. It's going to keep winning. We're going to keep getting blow after blow after blow for the first time ever in this country, which has let presidents get away with literal murder by the tens of thousands. For the first time ever, a president's been indicted. Sanity is winning. Justice is winning, and we ought to be proud. Because history will look back at this fight. And thus far, you will be able to count yourself amongst the high points. If you're watching a show like this, if you're writing letters, if you're making your voice heard, you are one of the people on the winning side. You are one of the people who is fighting the good fight, who history will thank for doing so. And let me get that started. Thank you. Thank you. When something like that happens, like the trans hate form, gets shut down by activists like you, it does more than just shut down that particular form. It tells trans people all over the country that even though, God help us, yes, they're being hunted right now, people care about them. It's less than 1% of the population. That doesn't happen if only trans people are sticking up for themselves. That happens when allies step in. Good job, allies. I'm damned proud of you. I truly am. Well, we got some more news here. It keeps going. And you know what? I don't want to bring the mood down, but I do want to bring your attention to a problem that was pointed out last week. This is more one to watch, but it's an important lesson for your area. Let me do a proper intro here, and we'll discuss this. I should probably set this up a little different. One of the biggest ways we prevent police from acting up is to have non-police watching them. The question is, who watches the watchmen? Well, not other watchmen. That's the idea, is you have regular people on a board who provide oversight. Well, last week, Wireless Mike provided us with a link to a video that I think's worth watching, because right now, guess what state that has been providing a hell of a lot of problems recently? They're looking at getting rid of their police oversight board in one of the most populous areas in that state. Take a guess in the comments. You're going to see in about 10 seconds. This is something that we should be concerned about, but more for our own areas, because that's where we can affect. Let's check it out.
Meantime, the community board that investigates claims of police misconduct in Nashville is in danger of disbanding. News Channel 5's Kelsey Gibbs live at the state capitol, where lawmakers are considering a bill that would put Metro's community oversight board in the crosshairs. And Kelsey, I know you spoke with the COB's executive director. What does she think?
Well, Rory, Jill Fitchard says if this bill becomes law, it would be a sad day for accountability in Tennessee. Now, she testified this morning here at Cordell Hall and asking lawmakers to vote no on this proposal that would limit how review members look over police misconduct in the state. Now, she says that it gives these board members just 3 days to hand over these complaints, and she says that's just not enough time.
It allows for a municipal governing body to create a police advisory committee that is adopted upon an ordinance of 2/3 votes of that city council or municipality.
Representative Elaine Davis and Senator Mark Pody are pushing a bill to abolish community oversight boards, or COBs, and give local government the power to create police advisory and review committees to make recommendations for complaints against officers. Unlike community oversight board members, this bill says members will not independently review citizen complaints and instead hand them over to internal affairs units.
The purpose of the committee is to strengthen the relationship between the citizens and law enforcement agencies to ensure a timely, fair, and objective review of citizens' complaints.
Jill Fitchard is the executive director of the Metro Nashville Community Oversight Board. She testified in opposition of the bill during the House Criminal Justice Committee.
Well, I think it's an unconstitutional bill. 134,000 voters of our city said that this is what they wanted. I think it just sets a dangerous precedent that if they come in and can change the will of the people, what's next? I don't know what they might do.
You've got some very telling eyebrows coming up, but let's leave it on a hero for a moment. Let's get rid of that too. So look, two things I hear. Number one, they are severely limiting the ability of the people to provide oversight on the police. Number two, the people of Nashville, very much like the people of Lansing, Michigan, recently did. They decided that in this populated area, they want this. They want a police oversight board which has a lot of strength and has the ability to provide oversight. And now, an authoritarian legislature in the state of Tennessee, the same legislature that booted out 2 representatives for daring to demand something be done about the kids being shot to death in school. They're saying, no. You got to let these cops run rampant. No oversight for the people who will be the muscle for us. No oversight for them. Less oversight for them. It's of serious concern. And remember the big picture. This is what happens when Republicans are in control. You want to know what happens when Democrats are in control? Well, you have abortion as a right in your state. You have fair districts, not left-leaning districts, fair districts. You have actual American democracy allowed to take place. You have sensible regulations for public health. You have reasonable funding. You have, in other words, a well-run state when Democrats are in control. Not even, by the way, policies I 100% agree with. You would think, based on the talk I've had about Gretchen Whitmer. By the way, I met her on multiple occasions. She didn't remember me once, but I liked her. But you would think that I'm a huge fan of Gretchen Whitmer. Not really, not of her individual politics. We don't align that much. But the problems we face these days are so broad and are so clearly brought on by a push for Republican authoritarianism that you're damn right we wind up on the same side. You're damn right I've been supporting her like crazy. I've been praising her like crazy because she's earned it. Because the stark difference provided by a Democrat-controlled state allows me, here and now, to point to the differences. Similarly, the Michigan State Police are at the tail end of a period where they are measuring themselves and in increasing the amount of community oversight. The state police are increasing the amount of community oversight for them. Contrast that to Tennessee, where even in Nashville, where the community said they wanted this, they're being overruled. Don't elect authoritarians. Don't elect Republicans. Don't do it. They are not a political party right now. They are a criminal organization. I mean that literally. That's not a figurative thing I'm saying. I mean literally. The Republican Party is a criminal organization. Don't elect a single one of them right now. Fight them every opportunity you get. And make sure that your community knows, your friends and family knows the truth about what these people are and what they do. They are trying to take away power from the people.
People, what's next? I don't know what they might do.
In a statement back in February, Senator Pody said that COBs are a great concept and beneficial to communities. But he also said there have been instances in Tennessee of board members overstepping their bounds and behaving in ways that hinder rather than enhance certain investigations.
Awfully
Pitcher
vague.
says the state is misinformed.
It changed our charter. It amended our charter. Now it's included in our charter. And that's what the citizens of this city wanted.
Now, I asked Fitchard if she plans on suing the state if this bill becomes law. She said she doesn't know what the next steps are, but she will consult with legal departments as well
as the legislature. Oh boy, that's a bad one, folks. If you live in that area, if you live in Tennessee, I should say, obviously, write your representatives. Link will be in the description of the VOD. And later in the live stream, a link will be in the description for how to find your representatives Write them. Tell them, no, sir. No, ma'am. I won't have it. I will not have you interfere with how the police are overseen because I don't like what you're doing. Tell them that. If in your state there is a significant Republican presence, keep an eye on police oversight. And when, not if, but when they propose police have less oversight, that police be allowed to run rampant, that police be allowed to be given a gun and lessened rules for how they may use that gun as opposed to a civilian. Do let your old pal Jake know. Let me know, and we'll report it here, and we'll tell you what you can do. See what the wicked community has to say. Ooh, Wireless Mike says, we don't get to propose ballot initiatives here either. They run roughshod over us in Tennessee. Yeah. That sucks. One thing I have been looking in Wireless Mike says, it's too late, it's done. Well, there goes that whole segment. F. All right, we're going to do a new segment tomorrow. How to fight further. I still think that's valuable for other folks, but that's unfortunate. I'm sorry, Wireless Mike. One thing we've been looking at for how to help the country as a whole is how to get a federal law that permits ballot initiatives in all 50 states. That's much more difficult than it might seem initially because states have a lot of leeway in how they are able to conduct their business. But I do think it can be said in a legal framework that makes sense and is in line with the U.S. Constitution that Americans should all, every last one, should have the right to put something on a ballot. Dean Oldfield says, this sounds unconstitutional, and Wireless Mike says, one would think. Yeah. Well, now I'm regretting taking the weekend. That said, we're not going to let this go. This is either going to be a thing that Republicans regret, or it's going to be something that they regret badly in Tennessee. One thing we have learned is that in all things, the more attention is paid to Republicans, the more people, I'm talking about politicians, the more people do not like them. So we're going to keep our eyes on this, and we're going to use this to show what Republicans in Tennessee prefer. They prefer absolute chaos. They prefer their armed muscle to have no rules. And we're going to make that abundantly clear. It's that simple. Oh. Yep, it's been disbanded as of Thursday. Voters be damned. No more community oversight. Oh, that just breaks my heart into a million little pieces. Sorry to hear it, man. Still, in your state, if it's not Tennessee, God help us, if it's not the Nashville area, keep an eye out. If we can catch this earlier, we can make it embarrassing earlier. That's on me, folks. But let's keep in mind that we have had three major victories recently. And in fact, it looks like we're about to have a fourth. Let's talk about that. In Fulton County, ooh, baby, Fani Willis has given us a timeline. We got the Midas touch talking about it. Hold on, let's do this proper, huh? in Fulton County, Georgia, there is somebody by the name of Fani Willis. She is a district attorney, and she has a case against a politician that apparently tried to do something pretty un-American, which is change the results, it looks like, of the vote that would have kept them in office. Now, you're going to have to use your history books here, because this politician hasn't been in office for about 3 years. 2 years. The person's name is Donald John Trump, and once upon a time, America, well, I imagine it was drinking, made that man the president. And once America sobered up, had an actual crisis that he utterly failed to handle, the American citizens voted in Joe Biden to replace Donald John Trump. It's the most votes Joe Biden got that anybody who's ever held the office of president has ever received. Fun fact. But Donald Trump did not handle his loss gracefully. In fact, it looks like he then tried to steal that election for the office of President of the United States. And Fani Willis has been investigating his efforts to overturn the election in Georgia. And now we have a timeline for when she's going to act. Let's listen to the Midas Touch folks talking about it. And I promise you, I will F up. And I will absolutely accidentally play a portion of Jordy reading an ad during the middle of it. But that's the price we pay for the excellent job Midas Touch does reporting things. Here they are.
I'm Ben Meiselas from the Midas Touch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis says that she will announce potential criminal indictments of Donald Trump and or other criminal co-conspirators of Donald Trump between July 11th and September 1st. Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis revealed this timetable in a letter to local law enforcement in which she asked them to be ready for, quote, heightened security and preparedness, end quote, because she predicted her announcement, quote, may provoke a significant public reaction.
Hey, real quick, Republicans, you should feel ashamed right now. That significant public reaction is because y'all are gullible. Donald Trump is a con man. It's been obvious since the start. Most of you, and we're going to talk about this in a segment later, most of you, I suspect, know that. But the problem is not just that you know he's a con man. It's that you know he's a con man, and yet you keep falling for the con. Now, Fani Willis, a district attorney, a cop in other words, is concerned that your reaction to one of your politicians actually facing justice is going to result in a dangerous situation. You ought to be ashamed. That's the least American thing I've ever heard. Let me tell you something true. Delete Donald Trump from the history books. Just imagine there was a gap between 2015 and 2020 and put Joe Biden in office and go through his presidency and imagine at the end of it, something he did was announced to have resulted in criminal charges. Your old pal Jake would be celebrating that. Not quite as much, because I don't personally despise him as much as Donald Trump, but you better believe I'd be celebrating that, because it is of greater interest to me that we establish that powerful people in this country don't have immunity from the law. Those are called principles. You should adopt some. Because right now it is crystal clear that you all, those who still to this day vote Republican, you all have goose egg, no principles whatsoever. And the rest of America is not going to put up with it anymore. And that doesn't mean, oh, the storm's coming. No. Republicans, that means your family's going to stop talking to you. That means your friends are going to stop associating with you unless they themselves are criminals. That means anybody with an interest in decency will have nothing to do with you because you're not a decent human being if you're still voting for Republicans. You're going to have to swallow that pill. Because it's true. People pay attention now. You don't have an excuse for not paying attention now. You don't have an excuse for the ignorance anymore because the ignorance is a danger to us all. I'm ashamed that it wasn't important enough to us when the ignorance was a danger to only the minorities, really. Or when it was only a slow, steady decline that America was enduring. But it's a fast decline now. And our freedoms are at stake. And it is your fault, Republican voters, because you are gullible, because you choose to be gullible, because you choose constantly to support a criminal party, a criminal organization which calls itself a political party. It is your fault. Our patience for that nonsense is out. So, feel shame over the fact that Fani Willis felt it was necessary to take these steps, and let's let Ben Meiselas tell us what's up.
End quote. Let's pull up the full letter sent by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis on April 24th, 2023 to the Sheriff of Fulton County, Georgia, the Honorable Patrick Labatt. Here's the letter. Dear Sheriff Labatt, my staff and I greatly appreciate the efforts you have made to increase security at the Fulton County Courthouse. While these efforts have addressed security needs related to several high-profile trials and investigations, as we have discussed, the need for vigilance will increase. In the near future, I will announce charging decisions resulting from the investigation my office has been conducting into possible criminal interference in the administration of Georgia's 2020 general election. I am providing this letter to bring to your attention the need for heightened security and preparedness in coming months due to this pending announcement. Open source intelligence has indicated the announcement of decisions in this case may provoke a significant public reaction. We have seen in recent years that some may go outside of public expressions of opinion that are protected by the First Amendment to engage in acts of violence that will endanger the safety of our community. As leaders, it is incumbent upon us to prepare. I will be announcing charging decisions resulting from
One more time, shame on you, Republican voters.
This investigation during Fulton County Superior Court's fourth term of court, which will begin on July 11th, 2023, and conclude on September 1, 2023. Please accept this correspondence as notice to allow you sufficient time to prepare the Sheriff's Office and coordinate with local, state, and federal agencies to ensure that our law enforcement community is ready to protect the public.
I truly believe there is a good chance that Donald Trump, and this is not I'm not going to even do a gentleman's bet on this. Y'all can just have the gentleman. I truly believe that there is a chance Donald Trump won't be running next year, 2024. But I will bet a gentleman on. I don't think he's going to be the nominee. Not the Republican nominee. He might go third party. He might run in between running to court appointments. But truly, there's practical things to consider. It's an exhausting thing to run for president. He's not exactly a marathon runner. You could only do so much with pills. I mean, like, it's hard for me to imagine that he's going to be able to keep up with all this court stuff and campaign for president. And then there is the fact that more and more dirt is going to come out about this guy. Everything that has been denied about him by his voters will come to light. And as you know, there's a segment we're going to do in a moment that will show that the Republican voters really don't care about the truth. They'll find a different way to be on this guy's side. But it's going to become more and more embarrassing. It's going to become more and more obvious what they're all about. And look, I don't think playing towards the center is a smart strategy. I don't think that's a good idea for politics. You should not play towards the center. That's very different than offending the center. It's one thing to not put forward a series of policies that will essentially maintain the status quo. Just small tweaks to the status quo, because America, for many, many, many election cycles, has been saying that the status quo is not working out. But that's different than saying we should just undo everything that America is. We should undo democracy. We should start hate campaigns, etc., etc. I think we were shocked in 2016 to find out how many despicable, hateful people there were in the country. But as we learned, a big part of that was also our misunderstanding, because it wasn't all despicable, hateful people. It was a lot of people that actually believed what Donald Trump said. He was going to drain the swamp. And they were willing to endure the despicable, hateful elements about him for that swamp draining. And he didn't drain the swamp. He, in fact, was the swampiest swamp creature I have ever seen. It was crystal clear. And what happened? He couldn't run a country. He failed us during the coronavirus pandemic. He didn't do anything for the working class, and he lost to Joe Biden. Still got a hell of a lot of votes. Still really shocking us with how much conservatives are willing to cover their ears and close their eyes. But I promise you, a lot of those votes were from people that really didn't believe that politics is part of the real world. Then January 6th happened, and now this stuff. This stuff is going to be in the news constantly. I don't believe Donald Trump is going to have a very politically healthy 2024. Healthy for him. It's going to be great for us. Sane people. That said, I don't think that means the work of the sane is going to be easy breezy. But the opportunities we're going to have to make progress, essentially, this is harvesting season. Think of it like that. It's a bountiful crop. There's a ton of truth coming out. We're going to have to do the work to harvest it all, and to get the most use out of it, make sure it doesn't rot on the vine. But it's going to be happy work, and if you like being able to at least show that you told them so without actually having to say it, oh, you're going to have a blast.
As your strategic planning process begins, collaboration with my investigative leadership team is vital. My team will be in touch in coming days to set up appropriate conversations. My staff and I are grateful for the work of the Sheriff's Office in ensuring the safety of the public during this time. Thank you for your efforts and we look forward to working with you. Folks, that is the letter from Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to the Fulton County Sheriff Patrick Labatt, informing Sheriff Labatt that indictments will likely be coming this summer. She gave the timeline for these criminal indictments relating to her ongoing criminal investigation into 2020 election interference. She states in her letter that those indictments will likely take place between July 11th, 2023 and September 1 of 2023. And she reiterates that while First Amendment speech is absolutely protected, what we have seen, and she's obviously referring to the January 6th insurrection and all of the other efforts by Donald Trump's supporters and other MAGA Republican leadership to try to incite violence and go beyond their First Amendment freedom of speech and go into territory of provoking serious criminal acts. Here, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis wants to take no chances, and she is alerting the sheriff of Fulton County well in advance of the time frame. So for those wondering what the time frame would be, she's laying it out right here, folks. So what will be taking place between now and July 11th through September 1st of 2023? Well, the grand jury will be meeting. The grand jury will be convening. We believe the grand jury will convene in May.
I really need like a law buddy that I can ask questions to live. By the way, viewer suggestion to set up a better chat system is underway. I'm not going to promise y'all a specific time, but yeah, bring your lawyer friends for God's sake. Or Wicked Foxy Dragon's got some experience herself. Man, I got questions about this jury.
It will receive evidence for several weeks, likely through July 11th. And then you'll have that period between July 11th and September of 2023, where you will have the grand jury deliberate and make its vote on the various criminal charges. They will vote on who to indict.
Now let's take a quick break to talk about our next.
Jordy, dang it. Oh, he's a wily one. I love it. Get back to Ben Mycelis, though. Come on. I want to hear this.
Fulton County, Georgia process, which is different than the Manhattan grand jury process, is that in Fulton County, Fani Willis opted to go through a two-step process. Step one of her process, she impaneled a special grand jury. That special grand jury took in evidence. They heard from various witnesses, dozens of witnesses.
My question is primarily this, and I think he's going to touch on it. My question that I can't answer for you, I looked it up, couldn't find it. How much of the evidence already gathered is going to be reviewed by the new grand jury before they can decide whether or not they just go with what the old grand jury said? I don't know. I don't know if they just read what the grand jury said and then either go with it or don't. I have no idea what that process looks like, which means I don't really get how long it takes. But maybe I missed that on the first viewing. Let's find out.
Witnesses, in fact, over the past several months, and ultimately prepared a report and made recommendations about who the Fulton County District Attorney should indict. However, the special purpose grand jury, unlike, say, the Manhattan grand jury that was impaneled, the special purpose grand jury did not itself have the power to criminally indict. Its power was to prepare the report and recommendations. That report and recommendations remains mostly under seal. So it is a two-step process in Fulton County. Report and recommendation from the special purpose grand jury. That report and recommendation then goes to the actual grand jury. And just like in Manhattan, where the grand jury had the power to indict, the grand jury that will be convening in May in Fulton County will have the power to indict. Now, it will likely receive the report and recommendations from the special purpose grand jury that will likely be used as a roadmap for the grand jury. By the way, the grand jury could simply just accept the report and recommendations and indict on that basis. However, what will likely happen is the report and recommendation by the special purpose grand jury will be used by the actual grand jury as a roadmap, and I suspect that you will have additional witnesses now testify before the grand jury. And I think we will see some different witnesses testify before the grand jury than who would not testify or who may have testified.
Yeah, because, damn it, I'm going to pause it better. Because of the recent developments, and he's going to break it down great. He does it in a very short amount of time, but in short, the thing I really think you should listen for is who those new witnesses are going to be, because remember, and this is not mentioned, but this is, I feel, really important to understand across all of these, and this is why I say the Republican Party is a criminal organization. The use of a lawyer to control potential witnesses. That's some RICO stuff right there. That's some mob behavior right there. And we have availability now from new witnesses because the deal for immunity that they were offered, well, it's back. It wasn't taken before, but it looks like it's been taken now. And the reason it wasn't taken before is apparently because their lawyer didn't make it clear that it was an option.
For the special grand jury.
Mob stuff.
For example, we've reported here on the Midas Touch Network that many of these so-called fake electors, these individuals who attached their names and certified falsely that Donald Trump won in Georgia and submitted their names to be counted on January 6th, fraudulently and falsely, that some of these fake electors have been turning on other fake electors and have been pointing the fingers as things start to get very real and as indictments are looming. One of the motions that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has filed recently is a motion for disqualification, for example, against a lawyer named Kimberly Burrows DeBro, who is representing 10 of the fake electors. She used to represent 11, but there was a conflict between one of the fake electors and the other 10. But this attorney, Kimberly Burrows DeBro, is now representing 10 of the fake electors. And in this motion for disqualification that was just filed last week by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, the motion set forth that some of those fake electors are pointing the fingers at each other and blaming each other because there is this adverse relationship between these fake electors in the same case. Fulton County District Attorney argues that there is an unwaivable conflict of interest. Yes, an unwaivable conflict of interest such that Kimberly Burrows DeBro should not be able to represent all of these fake electors in order to coordinate their testimony when they don't all want to testify the same way. One of the other very serious allegations that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis also put in her motion to disqualify Kimberly Burrows DeBro last week is that certain immunity offers were conveyed to some of these fake electors, and that Kimberly Burrows DeBro, the lawyer for these fake electors, did not convey offers of immunity, which would be a serious ethical breach if she did not convey those offers of immunity to her clients. So there are new developments happening there, and some of those fake electors who did not testify before the special purpose grand jury may testify before the grand jury. But folks,
I just want you to appreciate for a moment what a serious thing that is. In fact, you know what? I think we got what we needed from Mr. Mycelis here. If you're not watching the Midas Touch Network, they are definitely one I recommend. They get the wicked recommendation for sure. Let's talk about how serious that is. A lawyer is supposed to take, a defense attorney is supposed to take a message from the prosecutor and relay it to their client. They are the voice of their client in court. They are not allowed to hide a message from the prosecutor. They're not allowed to hide a message from the judge. They're not allowed to make, in other words, decisions for their clients without informing their clients about their options. They can advise, but the person who makes the decision is the client. How it works. The reason mob bosses, or really just bosses in any organization, so rarely get prosecuted is because of this practice in the United States of America of allowing them to pay for the attorney of their underlings. Because the attorney serves the person, in reality, they serve the person who is signing the checks. They don't serve the person they are necessarily representing in court. This is a big problem. This is a massive problem in our country. It's in the United States, I should say. We need to work on legislation to eliminate this practice. I understand that there are people who get sued as representatives of representatives of a company that appreciate having their attorney paid for. I'm sure they do. It's not worth the price, which is immunity for bosses throughout the United States of America. It's what it functionally results in. And it requires extraordinary effort from prosecutors to get around this. It requires more lawbreaking to have been done before it can get rectified. It's a problem. And at the conclusion of this mess, we might have to deal with it. It's part of why it's going to be important to get an all-blue 2024. But for now, what you should really just pay attention to is the similarities across these trials. Once again, we see the Republican Party and Donald J. Trump providing lawyers for people. I believe in this case it was the Republican Party paying for the lawyers in order to control them as they are witnesses, to exert control they should not have in the criminal justice system. We cannot allow this to keep going. Who is that Cassidy Hutchinson? That gal who, by the way, as a human being, I'm sure she's not exactly a model citizen. But she served Donald Trump. She was willing to join that administration. It wasn't until she was in trouble that she developed a conscience. But credit where it's due. After she was in trouble, she could have kept covering for these criminals, and she didn't. She broke free, and when she broke free and testified to the January 6th committee, we saw why she wasn't willing to testify before. Her lawyer wasn't being honest with her. Her lawyer was serving somebody else above her. They were serving somebody else's interests above hers. And in fact, well, that person, it turns out, their interests were in direct contrast to those of Cassidy Hutchinson. Once again, we don't have a 20-something wide-eyed underling. Now we have a bunch of crusty Republicans going through this. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Good news is progress is chugging along. It looks like, once again, this is under control. But you know, the fake electors in other states are going to be investigated. When that happens, let me just be clear. The reason you know this is going to happen is because the January 6th committee already established the basics of what happened. Fake electors were sent to 7 states, or were rather called out in 7 states. They were asked to come and F up the system. They were the fake electors. That's like saying the wheelman. That's like saying the bagman. That's not an official position within the government. That is a criminal position. The fraudulent electors were arranged by Eastman and Giuliani, rather at the advice of Eastman and the work of Giuliani, calling around, going to these states, on behalf of who? Who did Giuliani work for at the time? Not the U.S. government. He worked for Donald J. Trump. That's going to come out in this Georgia trial. And states that aren't already doing an investigation, are not already engaged in an investigation. Right now, we only have Michigan as the other state that is doing this. Arizona's flirting with the idea. I don't know why that stalled. You should get on that if you're from Arizona. Your attorney general, I think it's Chris Mays, was right on the verge of announcing that she was going to investigate this, and then silence. But as this becomes crystal clear in court, the other states are going to have to. They're going to have to start this investigation at the state level. And when they do, guess what? Expect the same behavior from the Republican Party. They will try to stop people from testifying in order to save Donald Trump, in order to save face, in order to cover it up. This is a criminal organization. If they weren't a criminal organization, they would be interested in the law being upheld. But they're not. They are not interested in that. They are a criminal organization. They don't want the law upheld. They will cover up crimes. They will continue to do this. We need to be ready for it, and we need to act early so that these investigations, for example, don't take years and years and years because we allow them to use the same tricks constantly to obstruct the same investigation over and over and over and over. Cut it off early. Be ready for it. Make sure your attorney general is, first of all, for God's sake, if you're in one of the fake elector states, Arizona, New Mexico, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, now I've lost track. Did I say Arizona? Yes, Nevada, and wherever the hell. Georgia. If you're in one of those states, make sure you got an investigation going into the fake elector plot. Contact your attorney general. Get on them. And make sure that they are aware, even though, of course, they'll know, but make sure they know you know that the Republican Party is going to try the same thing. The time has come to deal with the Republican Party like a criminal organization. On a related note, I have a bonus what you can do. Oh, yes. Sure, you can contact your attorney general and get a investigation going into the fake elector plot, and you should. However, what I would recommend in addition to put pressure on the Republican Party to move the Overton window to where it needs to be, frankly. You should write your representative, your state level representatives, as in the people who represent you in your state legislature. And you should tell them you want them to introduce a bill similar to the one Ingoglia introduced in Florida That'd be Senate Bill 1248. Introduced in the Florida Senate in March, the bill would require the state of Florida to immediately cancel the filings of a political party to include its registration and improved status as a political party if the party's platform has previously advocated for or been in support of slavery or involuntary servitude. The specifics of that bill are ridiculous, of course. Due to the party switch with the Southern strategy in the 1960s, the people that would have supported the Democratic platform that was pro-slavery are currently in the Republican Party, which is a party full of monsters. However, I can actually get behind the spirit of the bill. If the Democrats would have been in support of the inhumane treatment of a racial minority recently, if the party had engaged in insurrection just a few years ago, if the party was actively giving aid and comfort to the people who instigated an insurrection, that bill would make total sense. It does seem that we should not allow a criminal organization to simply call itself a political party in order to get treated like one. In the United States government, right now, there are people who do not believe in little d democracy. There are representatives of the people who have publicly declared their support for insurrectionists. We should get rid of them. Tell your representatives to sponsor a bill in your state that would ban any political parties whose current members are known to have participated in an insurrection against the United States government, making them in violation of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. We already have legislation regarding individuals for this. I'm suggesting that you recommend state legislation be introduced to ban the Republican Party if it holds on to members who participated in the insurrection. Give it some thought. I think it would be a hell of a lot of fun. And even though I think the odds of this passing anywhere are slim, I just can't wait. I just can't wait to see how Republican parties in various states try to defend holding on to insurrectionist members. Make them own that or let it go. But we can't put up with these traitors in office anymore. Gotta stop. Boot 'em. See what the wicked community has to say. Patrick, Wicked Foxy Dragon says, I just put a link in the Friday, thank you, in the Friday Peace Talk spreadsheet about special purpose grand juries. I got my reading for tonight. Thank you. I'm looking forward to that. Zick says, Rachel is doing a good segment on the dominant conservative figures of the past 90 years. I hate having WYCD and Rachel on at the same time. Fair enough. Tell you what, we'll split the difference, and I will cover that segment because I am really interested in that. Mars Falcon says, justice delayed is... Wait, finish that thought, Dr. King. Hell yeah. Yep, exactly. Patrick Kibido says, sadly, this happens in capital cases all the time. The public or court-appointed defender excuse doesn't hold water in those situations either. Interesting. Dick Cheney believed in gay rights when his daughter was gay, but Liz Cheney did not. Oh, my God, I know. Liz Cheney is... That's an unlikely ally. Let's just say that. But she really did. I'll say this. Cheney and Kinzinger opened my eyes to the fact that there is a hell of a lot of benefit in working with some of these devils when our interests align. Because our interests tend to align in sort of a deep impact sort of way, like when we have Godzilla-style problems. Yeah, Zix 1326 brings up a really interesting point. Actually, they're stuck. If they abandon Orange, they're afraid of what he'll spill about them that we don't already know. I think you're probably right, and I think they're going to someday quite soon. I think once these criminal trials are properly underway, I think they're going to be forced into a position where they literally have to turn on Trump, or their most influential members are going to go to prison. It's just going to come down to literally finger pointing. Oh. Mars Falcon, especially the South hated Lincoln's war of Northern aggression so GD much. Yeah, I'll tell you, the North is starting to feel pretty damn aggressive again. Thank God we are in more civilized times, one hopes. Well, I'll tell you what, this last one I just caught a teeny little part of, but there's something I want to talk about with y'all. So we're going to go over Jordan Klepper's observations about Republicans, and then a new segment he put out recently. Let's have a gander. Those who have asked, I have no idea where that vocabulary comes from. It just sort of worms its way in and never leaves. But yes, the question is, do Republicans genuinely believe the things that the Republican Party says? Do they genuinely believe the things their politicians are saying? The answer, it would appear, is no. I mean, the question is, are they dumb, or are they feigning ignorance when they are asked about some of the abhorrent things? Jordan Klepper talked about a little bit ago, and this was an article from HuffPost by Lee Moran. He talked about the most telling comment he heard when he was interviewing a Republican. I want to read it to you because I think it is really important to understand what's going on with these voters. Too often I hear people say, "Oh, Republicans are just being tricked." And in fact, I've called them gullible, Republican voters. I called them gullible. I should be clear. I think they're gullible in that the harm they're causing others isn't actually helping them. And I think they've been convinced that it is helping them, that it somehow maintains what they have. What I don't think is that they're so gullible they don't believe they're harming others. I think they know they're harming others. And I think they know what Trump says is not what you're supposed to take away, but rather what he implies is. Here's why. Jordan Klepper has endured his fair share of wild moments with Donald Trump supporters during his MAGA field reports for The Daily Show. But one comment stands out. The correspondent recalled in previously unseen footage filmed last week this came out Monday today. Filmed last week during his stint guest hosting the Comedy Central program, Klepper remembered talking to a woman during Trump's first impeachment for trying to extort Ukraine. Remember, that was his first impeachment. You know, the war that's currently happening, it's almost as though there were consequences for his behavior. The then president was blocking witnesses, including former National Security Advisor John Bolton, from testifying. Trump did that shit. The woman insisted to Klepper that Trump was innocent and said that if he had done anything wrong, he'd be trying to hide it. Klepper asked if blocking testimony would be an admission of guilt. The woman agreed it would. Klepper told her Trump was blocking testimony. And she takes this very long beat. She thinks about it and she says, "I don't care," he said. The woman was being completely honest in that moment, he added. He then said, when people's politics become tied up with their identity, it's almost impossible to change their minds. Klepper noted, they don't give a shit about the new piece of information, he said. Yeah. I don't think she gave a shit before. I don't think that if that woman had known, if she had been following the case because she actually cared about what happened, she would have known that Trump had blocked testimony. And if she would have done that, she would have simply answered the question differently when Klepper asked if blocking testimony would be an admission of guilt. She would have just answered the question differently. She would have said, no, I don't think so. Because the truth does not matter to her. But what matters to her is that she hurt other Americans. That's most important to that woman. She knows the left hates Trump. She knows that Trump is a person who will do harm to minority communities. He made that clear in 2015. He made it clear across his presidency. That's why she supports Trump. It's just another way to wear a rebel flag on your hat. Any way you can express as an American that you despise minorities and that you make a sport out of harming other Americans. Any way you can do that but still pretend like that's not what you're doing, there is a section of America which will jump on, which will happily participate in, and that is what Trump is. They're not passionate about a New York billionaire. They're passionate about getting to say F you to minorities, getting to say F you to people that side with minorities and defend their rights. They're passionate about throwing a wrench in progress, because to them, progress is something that leaves them behind. That's what they care about. I think that tells us that as sane Americans, it's our duty to make it clear, as distasteful as this might seem to you, to make it clear that progress includes improving their lives. Means not going out of our way to come up with things we're going to do that are going to make their lives specifically better. No. But it means when we talk about why something is good, why we are doing something, we always take the time to address every major faction we can in America. Case in point, MAGA voters, why Donald Trump getting indicted is good. It means that you are more likely to be able to indict Joe Biden. I don't think you're going to be able to in the end, but you will be more likely to be able to, because we have finally done away with that taboo. Now, you've been convinced that Joe Biden committed crimes. I don't think he did. But if you want those investigated, the odds just went way, 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 way up. Because it's no longer taboo to investigate, to indict, to have a trial for a former president. I'd like to go farther. I would like it to be possible to do this for a sitting president. Yeah. That will require a significant restructure for how we run things, but I think it's worth it. I don't think it is healthy to have someone immune from crime during any point in their lives. No operation should include lawlessness as a necessary element. If it does, you have done the math wrong. You have come up with a bad process, and you must start again. That is what we must do. But as far as the motivations of Trump supporters, I think a major thing we need to start considering is that they have not been honest with us about why they support what they support. And we should address them still. And we should make it clear that the principles behind the actions that we suggest in the sane America, those principles should be used, or rather should be something that benefits all. Cortez Crimson says, doesn't this kind of show how broken and ugly we are if we can not only tolerate but cheer on such? Yeah, and I think it's healthy. Not that we're doing it, but that we can see it now. Because look, I don't think America drastically changed in 2015. We call it mask off for a reason. This is functionally what's been happening since the 90s, since Newt Gingrich's big push. Republican Party hasn't been an honest actor. The impeachment of Bill Clinton was a show trial. It truly was. Republican politicians have been at least this corrupt for this long, and conservative politicians have always been this corrupt. They have always been playing this game from Reconstruction till now. Conservatives are what they appear to be now. They always have been. It's just that their mask has slipped and their rhetoric has begun to take charge. MAGA consists of the people who root for the heel at a professional wrestling show. The harm is the feature, and they wish they could do the same. That is it exactly. Mars Falcon says, I am exhausted. Most people are not even aware of what's happening. I am grateful at least some people can see, but many of our allies are corporate-owned and are still status quo over change. This is true, but think about I think, if you imagine what it's like to be flopping onto the beach and just collapsing into the sand, that's where we are right now. And it's real easy to forget that we just swam for days and days and days away from a sinking ship and to appreciate that we're on dry ground right now. You'll notice I've been doing less what you can do regarding New York. Well, that's because, baby, we won. In fact, we keep getting victories. Victory after victory after victory for sane America. I'm not going to deny that we are up to our elbows in but that is because we are finally draining the septic tank. It's ugly work, and we're partway through it right now. But take a moment. Hell, do what your old pal Jake did. Take a weekend and just appreciate the victories because we're racking them up. I also think that the Republican Party is on the verge of being done for, and take solace in the fact that we can go slow in doing this, and the finishing blow will be 2024 if we do this right, and we can take our time, measure twice, and cut these punks out of our lives forever. Once. Cortez Crimson says, is this a reflection of us as a species? Yes and no. This is a reflection, in my opinion, of us as a species under these conditions. The question is, who benefits from this? The rich. The ultra-rich. At the end of the day, all this racial hatred, all this hunting of minorities, all this fervent belief in nonsense, it doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from rich people funding these things. Ben Shabibo's show, Steven Crowder's show, both of them got their start. Why? Because they were funded by a billionaire. Fox News, it is largely in existence because grumpy rich people wanted right-wing news. This is a reflection of what humans will do as a species when part of us have an obscene amount of power gained unfairly and are trying to hold on to it. That's it. Part of us are trying to live unjust lives, and they are constantly committing offenses against humanity to keep it going. This is how greedy we are. We should certainly take note of this. If you find yourself coming into wealth, remember how disgusted you were with the behavior of the ultra-wealthy before. And don't do that. But in the age of information which we now live, it is crystal clear that the majority of us have a sense of justice and have a sense of decency. And those of us who haven't spent our whole lives building our identity around the indoctrination that has kept these rich people, these ultra-rich people, in the position that they are, in other words, the kids. Well, in the age of information, they don't support this system. And the victory for the decent human beings, as I've said many times, is inevitable. And the struggle that we are in right now is not for whether or not the rich will get to keep their disproportionate power. That's going to go away. It just is. We are going to win that. The struggle we're in right now is for how soon, how quickly. And that's where y'all come in. You nailed it exactly correctly. It feels like a lot of people don't even follow this. You're right. More and more people will follow this as time goes on. But we can increase the speed at which that happens. And the great news is this stuff is really damn interesting because we've got all kinds of great independent reporting. So it's going to be easy and easier to do. Rustbox says, hey, Jake. Hey, Rustbox. Good to see you, brother. Well, tell you what. Let's look at one more thing while we're on the topic of Jordan Klepper. I'm going to wrap this one up, but I got something just for the live audience here. And it happens to deal with how we are going to finally shake Trump out of the public consciousness. I'm looking forward to it. Setting up. So the live audience of the Wicked community is referred to as the Senate. So this one is just for the Wicked Senate today. We're doing this for the sake of having a little bit of fun. Shoo it. But we're also doing this because I want to watch it. And I didn't get a chance before the show. I don't know if there's necessarily a what you can do related to this. But it is more Jordan Klepper, and it is talking about what he views, and this is when he was talking with Alex Wagner, who, by the way, anybody else kind of loving Alex Wagner these days over on MSNBC? I'm a big fan. But it's talking about what he views as the necessary thing to happen to get rid of Donald Trump. At least that's my understanding. Let's see if it is so.
Joining us now is a man who has spent several of the past years crisscrossing the country and speaking to conservative voters, many of them very likely Fox News viewers. The Daily Show's Jordan Klepper, who is taking over the reins as a guest host of The Daily Show this week. Wow, indeed. Jordan, it is great to have you. Thank you for joining me at this desk.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So I guess I would love to know, as someone who has been in the trenches and understands what is sort of erupting in the center of this country, the schism that seems to be breaking apart these United
And another victory. I can't believe I didn't mention this one. Folks, in terms of keeping your spirit up, look at that number on screen right now. And remember that that is the first, not the last, not the only. That's the first that Trump has had to pay. $787.5 million. Tucker Carlson, as of today, he's outskis. Donald Trump indicted. Fani Willis announcing a new time frame for the indictments. Jack Smith hasn't even announced yet what he's going to do, but he can't drop it now. He cannot. I realize how tired you are. Understand that if you're this tired winning, think about how tired the bad guys are losing. It's been a war of attrition, unfortunately. But it's a war we are winning. You should be proud. And let's enjoy ourselves, because my God, oh, what a great week for decency.
United States. When it comes to Fox and its troubles, this is not something you hear a lot about on Fox News, right? We played that tape. It's the Fox media reporter Howard Kurtz, sort of mentioned it, and then it was gone. And it begs the question, if a tree falls in the forest and only Howard Kurtz makes mention of it for 10 seconds, did it actually happen? Did anyone hear it?
That age-old adage.
That age-old adage. But in terms of, the folks you have talked to in and around sort of conservative gatherings, is it really as extreme as, if it is not covered exhaustively and with fury and passion in conservative media, it does not exist in the outside world? Is that the sense that you got?
Yeah, in a nutshell, yes. I mean, as far as this Dominion case here, first of all, I'm not 100% convinced Rudy Giuliani is not going to have a press conference tomorrow saying we can still win this thing.
Right.
So,
well, there's always that alternative
It
universe.
might happen. It's definitely in this world. And that you see this full-throated acknowledgement from Fox News. I don't think that's going to resonate with a lot of the people that I talk to. It's no secret we are within these bubbles. And quite frankly, over the last year, the folks that I talked to out on the road have moved on from Fox News. They already got the results they did not like from Fox News. Mild distrust of Donald Trump not winning the election caused so many folks to move over to news that was more comforting to them. The Newsmax, the OANs. So I see something like this and this question of, will there be a reckoning? Will there be an understanding? And quite frankly, what there is there's a go-to for many people just to find the narrative that
that works for them. And it really sounds like, from the evidence and discovery that we got, that the real piercing fear on the part of Fox News executives that they were losing their audience, that if they didn't give them the good news they wanted, that calling Arizona for Biden, being the first to do that, was a real problem for them. That was not misplaced fear. That, in fact, the audience was saying, I'm turning the channel because I don't like what I'm hearing.
Let's do a little constructive dialogue between us here in the Wicked community. How can we use this? My initial thoughts are, why the hell is Jordan Klepper's hair always so high? It's like a mix between the high top from the early 90s and a pompadour. I hate it and love it in equal proportions. But when it comes to actually being productive, my thought is that we should make it a point to first talk about, before we even discuss the facts, we first talk about where the facts we're going to talk about come from when we are talking to MAGA folks. I think we should point out the fact that they are in the habit of fleeing to places that are saying what they want to hear. I think when we praise our own shows, when we say, when I say, I like Midas Touch, I should go out of my way to explain what I like about them. And those things that I praise have to, number one, be true, and number two, be something that the right-wingers in my life, of which there are few, but they do exist, can replicate. I like that they cite their sources. I like that when I check their sources, they're not lying about what they said. I think we need to really firmly draw the line between the types of media we're consuming. Mars Falcon says, is America a country where we value democracy? If so, why has one party been suppressing the vote for decades? It's a great question. And I think it is a rhetorical question we should ask Republicans. Patrick Kibido says, I've always enjoyed Alex Wagner for a few reasons. Yeah, she's good. I didn't used to watch her all that much. I say used to. I only became aware of her like late last year. I don't know why. I've done her an injustice because she's been doing great. Let's listen to what Jordan Klepper has to say. And the question for you in the audience is, how do we work on addressing the media habits of those we disagree with? Because the problem seems to be that they listen to what their politicians say is so, and then they run to the media source which agrees with that politician, and that is a problem.
Do you get the sense that these folks who used to be maybe perhaps Fox adherents and are now watching OANN or Newsmax or wherever they're getting their news from, that they realize they're looking for comfort, or do they think that it's an issue of truth, or is it both?
Well, I don't know if they fully realize it's comfort that they seek.
Right.
I think there's a misunderstanding of what they watch on Fox. I think seeing this as news, especially seeing that later hour not as entertainment but as news, is a misinformation gap that is crumbling so many parts of this country right now. I think more often than not.
Boom. Crumbling, he says. Excellent.
Not to bring everything back to Donald Trump, but gosh darn, it's been 2 minutes. We need to get it back there. He infected the brains of so many folks of distrust.
Yeah.
The media, it's the enemy of the people. He was the #1 guy, the most famous person this planet has ever seen. The media, enemy of the people. The media, enemy of the people. The media, enemy of the people. Now this media is telling you something you don't like. Cool. Well, I don't need to trust them. I've been given permission by the most powerful man on the earth to say that I don't need to trust it right there. And so I don't see these people reckoning with like, oh, I probably should. No, they've been given permission not to. And why not? If you trust that person, the person who we have agreed to put in a position of power, if that person tells you, don't believe the things you hear, trust me over here, well, then you get a January 6th. You get these moments to find someone else. And I think distrust is healthy in a working society. Misplaced distrust is dangerous.
Yeah, it's really a profound thing to focus on, the idea that Trump gave folks a permission slip, effectively, to only do the things they wanted to, say the things they wanted to, believe the things that made them feel good. Without explicitly saying that, it was kind of like a hall pass for only doing the stuff that feels good to you, everyone else be damned.
You consistently lower that bar. We lose.
Your hair, says Dean Oldfield, would look like that if you spent all your time with crazy people. Well done. Well done. Patrick Thibodeau says, say it with me, people. Money out of politics. Fox won't change its tune because it wants those ad revenues. Same with CNN and all the others. The onus should be on the people the people elect. Should be on the people the people elect. There we go. Yeah, I agree. And also, by the way, we have a guide. It's over on wickednetwork.com. If you click on guides, there's one called WYCDnetwork.com. There is a guide for getting big money out of politics. That remains true. That is the organization to get behind. They are people advocating for getting big money out of politics, and they have a plan, as in a legislative plan, to get it done. When it comes down, by the way, to all of this, you know it is time to join up with a group in some capacity, to donate your time to that group, not just when you agree with them. There's tons of groups out there that I wholeheartedly agree with, but when they present a plan, when they say, here's what we have, here is why we are going this route, you look at that plan and you judge for yourself whether or not you think it is actionable, whether it has a chance of working. But if it's a group that's saying, we believe this, we don't have a plan. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't support them if you're really interested in that. But if you are looking to conserve your energy, the biggest check mark is, do they already have a plan in place? And this group linked, I believe it is Citizens for Democracy. This group linked and discussed in the video on getting big money out of politics. That is absolutely a group with a plan.
sight of that. My first interaction with Trump supporters was around the Obama birtherism conspiracy.
Yeah.
A conspiracy that was embarrassing for anybody to talk on camera about. You wouldn't do that in polite company. After Donald Trump made that thing something you could say on TV,
yeah,
folks were more than happy to share with me. Now, I don't think he implanted that idea in a lot of people's heads, but he lowered the bar of what's acceptable there. If our culture, if our TV, if our entertainment puts this guy on this pedestal and he's able to say this, then why can't somebody else? And I think that has had an effect in all things, especially this.
You mentioned that you started doing this work before Trump was elected, right? And the latter half of the Obama presidency, I remember just being acutely aware of the way in which the well was being poisoned slowly, or the temperature on the frog in the pot was increasing, right? And then it reaches just a crescendo, an inflection point with the election of Trump. And I guess I wonder, is there anything that would suggest to you that the temperature can once again be turned down? Because I look at the road ahead, right? We have Trump is running for president again. 2024 is going to be a knife fight in a phone booth in the Republican primary. And the potential criminal indictment of the former president, on the current one for the Manhattan DA, but you have other investigations. All of this lends itself to a very combustible environment. And I wonder...
Just want to pause for a moment to give praise to y'all in the Wicked Senate. You are sincerely raising my faith in, number one, humanity, number two, in the idea that we're going to get this change that is necessary to the United States, and let's hope the whole damn planet, accomplished sooner rather than later, in our time, in our near future. The kinds of discussion I see you guys having, the way I see you having it, I mean, this is what I was hoping for. I'm going to do my best to get more of you here, and I'm going to do my best to get an easier forum for you guys to communicate. As pointed out, it's damn difficult, 200 characters at a time. I like the idea of a show where we discuss solutions. We are going to do that. That is the next thing that is going to appear on this channel. And it's because it's worth my time to do it. It just is. Because look at what you're talking about here and now. You're finding solutions. You're being honest. You're giving each other feedback. It is what a 20-year-old pal Jake thought the internet would be used for. And I'm delighted to see that it is finally doing that. This is one of the places where that's happening. Oh, I love to see it. Thank you.
How do we prepare for that as news people, as journalists, as citizens? I mean, or is it a foregone conclusion?
How do you prepare for the wicked audience? You get your ass ready. There's no stopping us.
That half the country is just never going to believe what's actually happening in the real world.
No, it's not a foregone conclusion. Our leaders can lead. I think spines on the right can do a lot of good in this country.
Do you think that they can make, because I guess my question would be, if they're giving up on Fox News, the folks you're talking to, then what would it matter if Ted Cruz came out one day and said, you know what, this has all been a lie? What would it matter if Mike Pence went and said in his, testimony to the grand jury, this guy totally incited an insurrection? I mean, what does any of it matter if they'll give up on the very people who are telling them the news about these come to Jesus moments?
I think two things. I think one, we crave teachers to give us direction, and so I don't think anybody wants to listen to Ted Cruz. But frankly, Ted Cruz and 100 of his buddies are in a position of power that suddenly make Donald Trump the outsider in that way. I think you need a majority of a party to make a choice that's outside of what Donald Trump is. There are no spines on that side that give anybody any indication that what we see here has any negative impact on this country. Or what has to happen is embarrassment with Donald Trump. I talked to Adam Kinzinger, and what he told me, what he thought could happen, and I don't know if I could say this on cable TV, but Donald Trump needs to essentially poop his pants. And it sounds like a joke, but what it is embarrassing, to the point that there's
humiliation.
It's complete humiliation, and I think you saw that with the midterms. Oh, Donald Trump might not be a winner. I built my identity around a man who I see as a winner through and through. And everybody tells me in my community that he's a winner. Oh, he lost in the midterms. Well, that's something I could probably work around. But you see the hesitation. They open up the door for DeSantis. What you need is humiliation around Donald Trump. And it's not going to be a revelation what happened to his past. He's already given us plenty of things that could be a humiliation. But what is humiliating is a bunch of people with spines who used to be with you who say, too much, bro, we're moving on to something else. That could change the temperature.
It would have to be a lot of people, though.
It would have to be a lot of people.
It would have to be like a groundswell of conservatives coming up and saying you're a loser.
Sure, but if those guys who claim patriotism and have those flag pins, if they looked themselves in the mirror, looked at that flag pin and was like, I care about this country, grow a spine, tell this man who's hurting it what is happening, and maybe people will listen to you.
So I think two things are inevitable. I think that will happen. That the discovery of a long missing spine will happen. And I think that's going to just split the party right down the middle. Why? Because they waited too long. It's already too late. It's already too late. January 7th was the time to do that. You know, the week following January 6th, right up until McCarthy went crawling down to Mar-a-Lago. That was the time to do it. They failed. But their support, their ability to win elections, it's going to keep dwindling. Because they can't win. When they are successful in bright red states, in gerrymandered states, when they are successful, all they accomplish is what has happened in Tennessee. They demonstrate more and more that Republican rule, and it is rule when it's Republicans, they treat it as though they are royalty, they are an aristocracy, and you're just a peasant. That's how they treat it. They treat the people in their districts like serfs who must be made to do as the representative pleases. They demonstrate for middle America, by which I guess I mean swing voters, those who aren't outwardly declared to a party, what that looks like. And it's a nightmare. And they further entrench those who have gone this far, who don't yet have the courage to face reality. And by the way, I have tremendous respect for people who have had the courage to face reality after starting down this path, the reformed brown shirts. Yeah, I have respect for them, for sure. But those that don't have that courage, they're just going to get further entrenched. They're going to act crazier, which means they're going to demand crazier things, which means this is going to keep spiraling, and it's going to keep being this ugly. Might get uglier. But that ugliness is as distasteful to a lot of relatively quiet people in America as it is to the people who are loud about their distaste for it. Not everybody. I'm not going to pretend like everybody cares as much as you do, but they care a little. And it's simply, it's no longer, you don't have to get into complicated politics. It's no longer an acceptable thing in polite company to offhandedly say, like, yeah, I vote Republican. Now that comes with justifying how you can support insurrection. That comes with answering questions about how much of the MAGA Republicans do you support. Most of the people that have voted Republican historically, let me rephrase that. Most of the people in your city council, most of the people in the business community who said they were for Republicans, they don't want that smoke. They want to say, they would say that as shorthand for saying, look, I'm voting in support of business and the fate of minorities is irrelevant to me. That's what they were saying. They're going to have to change their tune slightly and to say, well, I vote Democrat, but it's because I support big business. It's not because, I mean, they won't literally say big business, but it's because I support reasonable yada yada and business and blah 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 blah. I mean, it's already becoming clear to people that follow politics that Democrats on a worldwide scale, as our friend Leon Chevalier says, they're a conservative party. And in fact, they're extraordinarily pro-business to a degree that I don't like, as a matter of fact. They're going to pick up those voters. And the Republican Party will dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. And I believe we are watching the ugly end of a party that has been in existence in the United States for more than 100 years.
Around the folks who want to believe in Trump, who at one point listened to Fox News and maybe are listening to even more conservative fare these days, that part of the sort of central promise of that kind of ideology and that kind of media diet is the belief it offers you a way to feel good about yourself, and that it makes you feel bigger and better than everyone else. And the minute you are not surrounded by winners, hearing digesting the pablum of another winner, the minute you start tuning it out.
100%. I mean, I'm talking to people at rallies who are wearing capes. They feel like Superman.
Who among us, Jordan?
We should be wearing capes. It feels so good to wear capes, and I get that. I think it's the magic trick he pulled is we're not talking politics with Donald Trump. People identify with him. They identify with the MAGA movement. You can have a conversation with somebody about things they want. That's what politics is. You want this, I want this. Can we meet in the middle somewhere? You can't have conversations with the people about who they are, because that's unchangeable. You are protective of that. The MAGA movement, this is who people are. And that's a really difficult place. We're not trying to find some middle ground about what you want. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to change who you see as yourself.
Yeah.
So that takes a big movement. Spines help. So I'm hoping maybe that's the direction.
You can see a spine in a mirror when you're looking at it to find out who you are. I don't even know what I mean.
There's a metaphor in there. I don't know. But as soon as you said that, I'm like, no, you're going to see your body before my skeleton.
You'd see your face before your spine.
Maybe.
This is why I am not guest hosting The Daily Show this week.
You know, I'm getting used to it right now.
Why are you here?
Well,
All right. I just ended up liking Alex Wagner a little bit more. She took a whack at it. Wicked Foxy Dragon says, we need to educate people and get as many people as you can to vote. We have nothing to worry about. This is the best part, she says. Yes. Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. That's it exactly. Ooh. Patrick Kibido says, HW had a great line in the 92 campaign. Don't let anyone tell you there is something wrong with America, especially not someone running for president. Semantics notwithstanding, I like the concept. It's interesting. I like the general concept for sure. I think there's plenty wrong with America. I disagree with him there, but I do think when someone is running for president, you take everything they say with a grain of salt. We are meant to discuss the things that are wrong and figure them out together, says Patrick Kibido. Finger pointing and name calling solves nothing. As always, I'm in partial agreement. I think, when you snap at a dog to get its attention, and I like using dog analogies because I don't think we're so much different. I think I want to be a good buoy, and we all should. But when you snap at a dog to get its attention, it's to stop it from doing something immediately, and then you change your tone, and you try to educate the dog. Same thing with a kid. If it's a little toddler, barely understands English yet, but they're walking with their hand towards the stove, you start with that, hey. And for the record, Zoe's a good girl. I think that's necessary because people do need to be, when they go down this MAGA rabbit hole, they do need to be reframed. But I think the problem is a lot of times the folks talking to them keep up that tone. They keep up that righteous anger. And by the way, that righteous anger is correct to feel. The stuff MAGA is doing is insane. It's just insane, and it needs to be treated as such. But I think we need to, once we have the attention, then we need to do something with it. So when we start, and you'll hear me use this pattern as well, it's for a reason. When we start addressing MAGA, I think it's important to be honestly harsh about our assessment, but then switch it and discuss, yes, exactly, wireless mic, positive reinforcement. He says to Cortez Crimson, I know how you feel. I'm on the same boat, and I'm still trying to figure out how to get those of us who don't like fascist behavior to speak up more often. I can't leave. Hell yes. Well done. And yes, positive reinforcement. So you start with being upfront about the behavior being unacceptable, but then offer an off-ramp that they can take. If you offer an off-ramp that insists that the person's, just take a knee for the whole conversation, they won't. In fact, you can even offer concessions. We talk about this big picture all the time of saying that MAGA adherents so strongly believe what they believe because the lies are based on a little kernel of truth. For example, we are getting lied to by big media companies. We are. Look at any time Bernie Sanders is on cable news and he tries to discuss who pays them. The conversation's always awkward and stilted, and it gets moved along as quickly as they can. You can offer concessions afterwards, and when you've entered the conversation, for sure. And if you come across a MAGA adherent who isn't willing to stay through the conversation, when you come across somebody who is not willing to stay through that entry to the conversation, yeah, then you can just discard them. But if you come across someone who hears your harsh criticism, then you can offer them an off-ramp which you can both agree on. Like, look, I agree that the media is compromised, but I don't think it's compromised by the same folks you say it is. I think we can look at the numbers, the dispassionate numbers, and see who they're compromised by. They're compromised by big business, big pharma, big oil, whatever. That's who's compromising them, and that's where you have the discussion. And even if you don't, and by the way, you probably won't, end up getting them to totally agree with you, what you can do is get them fighting some of your enemies. And that is where the load is lessened. Ooh, Mars Falcon says, here we go. Gonna catch grief for calling trolls again. I do not go around just yelling at folk for no reason. I like this. I obliterate those that prove they are bad faith chuds. Yeah, look, let's go back to the dog analogy. And I'll be real with you folks. About a month ago, while doing some soul searching, I was high as a Georgia pine and watching a video about a rancher. I was looking at videos on YouTube to see what was popular and trying to figure out what was popular about it, but I got sucked into this video. And they talked about the guard dogs they had for their animals at night, and it was fascinating because they had all kinds of different dogs. They had wolfhounds, whose job, it won't surprise you, was to chase after and deal with wolves. It sounds like a euphemism for killing the wolves. It wasn't. They literally were supposed to just chase them away. They had scent hounds. They had dogs that bark more than anything and were trained to stay at the edge of the property and bark. And they explained why they had this instead of just going to a breeder and getting all one kind of dog. Well, the reason was because strangely enough, the mixed unit tactics of these good buoys were more effective. And I'll tell you, one thing the dogs all had in common was they all lived in the same place. And I think that's what we humans could take a lesson from. The mixed unit tactics we have here in this community. We all live in the same era. We got to share the same planet. It's in our interest to chase off the wolves. I think we should appreciate the different ways all of us do that. Mars Falcon, if you're the wolfhound, go get him. If Patrick Thibodeau, you have a specialty that you're an area you're most comfortable in, lean into it. And I think collectively, we are way more effective than anything standing against us could ever hope to withstand. Because in addition to being just so gosh darn pretty, we also happen to be right. And I think in the end, that is what matters most. Thank you for joining me today. I love doing this show with y'all. I will be back tomorrow, which is, of course, a 2 for Tuesday. Looking forward to that. I have no idea what from this live stream I'm going to upload, but look out for that. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. That helps me keep this thing going. And consider tossing me a super chat. Forgot that those exist. Man, once in a while, it helps your old pal Jake. Buys coffee. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Oh, my name's Jake.